Well, it looks like it turned out okay for the brave. They learned that sometimes the greatest gifts are those that are right in front of them. And we all know how important that lesson is, isn't it? It's so easy to move through our daily lives and miss those gifts. And one of the reasons I especially love stories from indigenous peoples is because the stories often center on really being aware of the environment and everything that is around you. And I think that awareness is really the gateway to being grateful. Of course, it's those big moments in life. Those are pretty easy to notice when something happens that we love. It's easy to be grateful for those. But then there's those everyday moments, the moments when nothing in particular seems to be outstanding. But if we just relax a little bit and look around, we see them, just like we did in our meditation today. And I hope you do take that meditation forward and keep working on your list. But sometimes, it's even in getting those things that we don't want that we can develop the greatest level of gratitude. I've had a few moments of those in my life. How about you? When I thought that what was happening was not something to be grateful for. I'm going to share one story with you about a Thanksgiving that, could have gone really different. So now Thanksgiving in our home has always been a big celebration. In fact, we often have more people at Thanksgiving than any other time in the year. And often we begin Wednesday evening with a Friendsgiving. We invite lots of friends over. And this is a time for our friends to come over. We play games. Sometimes we press cider. We gather around an open fire with marshmallows and chocolate and graham crackers, and we tell stories. So each year provides its own unique memories to reminisce about in subsequent years. And most famously was the year we invited an especially large crowd. A lot of them were our children's adult friends. So we were living in this boarding school campus at the time, and so we reserved the game room, because they had a game room. The game room was complete with a ping pong table and foosball and billiards, so it was the perfect place to gather. And we had planned a pretty light menu, just some pots of chili and bread and cornbread and salad and things. So as people were arriving, there was this kind of little bit of excited chaos scurrying around because we had to get everything from our kitchen in the apartment that we lived over to the communal room. Now I have to set the scene for you about these houses. So this boarding school was on a campus that had originally been a Shaker community. So we were in this big building. Our apartment, part of our home, was in this big building that had been one of the Shaker home buildings. So 220-year-old home. The floors are all these wood floors, really wide. So the stairwells were really wide. The hallways were really wide, like bowling alley wide. Tall ceilings, these big buildings. And the kitchen was located at the top of the stairs and beside this long hallway coming up from the front door. So now the chili we had made was all set to go. It was in several big crock pots. Now, just as I was coming up the steps from the front door, my husband Jim was coming out of the kitchen holding a big crock pot of chili. And he was holding it by the handles, like there's the ceramic crock pot that goes in the heating element. Well, he was holding that. And that thing had some plastic handles. So now I'm imagining you got the scene in your head. Here I am coming up the steps. Here he is coming out of the kitchen holding the hot chili. And you're right. I know what you're thinking, and you are right. It happened. Just as we were arriving at the same place at the same time, the handles, these plastic handles of the chili, broke. And, do you have any idea of the splatter range of chili? Well, I will tell you, we do now. Chili came crashing down to the floor and went everywhere. I kid you not, for days, and I think even a week after Thanksgiving, we were finding little globs of chili everywhere. They were in behind books in the bookshelf. There was some in some coats that were in the foyer. They were down the steps. We even found chili like 20 feet away from the scene of the crime under a chair. And there was chili that had made its way up to the other steps. It was incredible. So at the time, it took us a few moments to come to realize, and we were in shock about what had just happened. The folks at the time that were in the house, they were just standing there, agape, looking at Jim and I think wondering whether we were going to laugh or cry. Well, it turns out we decided to do a little bit of both. We just all started laughing, but it was one of those laughing, crying moments because there was just chili everywhere. There was chili all over me, there was chili all over him, and there was chili all over the house. Gratefully, we had made a whole lot of chili, probably twice as much as we would have needed anyway, so we had plenty of chili. And the truth is that although folks may have ate a little bit more moderately, just to make sure there was enough, it was one of our best Friendsgivings ever. No one cared much about the chili. We were just there for each other. And we're grateful for a great story to tell all these years later. It's in times like these that I often do my own little gratitude practice. Now, one of my teachers calls it a gratitude rampage. And I love this idea of this rampage of gratitude. I find it effective in moments of stress. Now, have you noticed that at moments of stress, the world sometimes seems to get really small? It's like stress creates this tunnel vision. And in the tunnel vision mode, it's really hard to do anything else or to see any other options, which makes the stress even worse. Well, in pastoral care, we speak about how each of us have this window of tolerance. It's the place where we are able to handle whatever life is bringing at us. It's our window of tolerance. And when we're under a lot of stress from any number of circumstances, that window often feels tighter and smaller. And the smaller it gets, the more focused we get on that thing that's causing us stress, which of course doesn't make it any easier. Often our response is either to try to solve the problem, we get in ramped up mode, that makes us even more stressed, or we just turn away from it and try to avoid it. But a much more helpful response is to actually learn to increase that window of tolerance. In essence, the greater the capacity to cope with life, the happier we are. So the more tolerance we have for things that can go wrong, the happier we're going to be as we navigate through life. Now, a much more helpful response to this is actually to learn to increase our natural window of tolerance. And as it turns out, one of the quickest and easiest ways to increase this tolerance window is through gratitude. Just being grateful actually can help us increase this window. So I've learned that when things go wrong, the best remedy is to run through a little list of things, a litany in my head of things I'm grateful for. It kind of shifts the energy. It's like the gratitude starts to push open that window of tolerance and the stress just doesn't feel as unbearable. If you want to have one of the best days in your life, I'm going to recommend you do this. When you're going to bed at night, the best thing to do is as you're falling asleep, start to create one of those lists in your head. Just start running through your head all the things that you are grateful for. Like right now, I am hearing leaf blowers in the woods that I'm sitting at. We'll see. We'll see if this makes it onto the sermon. But can I breathe and relax and just be grateful for all the other things like the stream, like the air, the woods, and focus on that instead of this background noise. We'll see how we do. But it really could be as simple as that. And then in the morning, the key to this practice is in the morning, do it again. Now you need to do it as soon as you become conscious in the morning and definitely before you grab your phone. Okay? So before you grab your phone in the morning, you wake up and you just start thinking of all the things you can be grateful for and go on this rampage. And it can be simple things like, oh, I'm grateful that I just woke up this morning. I'm grateful that I'm breathing. Oh, I love this pillow I laid on last night. That was so comfortable. I am so grateful my blanket gave me warmth. I'm so grateful for my mattress. I'm so grateful for this day I'm about to live. I'm really confident that this is going to be a really great day. And you just keep going on and on with as many things as you can think about. And do it for as long as you can. It really is one of the best meditation practices. It's meditation on gratitude. And it's such a great way to start your day. And then throughout the day, if there's moments where you find that window of tolerance shrinking, where stress is getting to you, close your eyes and just do a little bit of a gratitude rampage. It really, really helps. And you don't even have to do it out loud. For those of you going to go see family over the holidays, the technique comes in really handy at those moments where you think, I can't stand being with these people anymore. You just close your eyes, let them, maybe they've got the football game on, or maybe you like football, but maybe they're doing something that you don't like, and you just sit down on the couch, take a breath, and then in your head, just start the gratitude rampage. Oh, I'm so grateful for this couch. It's so comfortable. I'm so grateful that I'm breathing. Boy, that's a beautiful red pillow over there. I'm so grateful knowing that there's stuffing left over from the meal and cranberry sauce. Now, your family's going to look at you a little strange because you're going to be sitting there with a smile on your face and they're going to not know why. But that's okay. It can be your little secret. It's your way to just recenter and refocus and claim your life. Claim what is good in your life. It's actually been shown, too, that this gratitude that we can do, it is so effective when turned on somebody else. It's been shown that couples who express more gratitude toward their partners have higher levels of oxytocin, that happiness hormone. They feel more bonded to each other. So now, you can do it right now if you want, but definitely after service, I want you to find somebody. Maybe they're sitting right there in the room with you, or maybe you pick up the phone and call somebody, but find somebody and give them a rampage of gratitude. Just say to them all the things that you absolutely are grateful for in your relationship with them. Now, it stands to reason that if this gratitude for others produces oxytocin, and if the gratitude we have in life in general is uplifting and helps us with our window of tolerance, that this is also really effective for us personally, towards ourselves. I want to share just this brief story that the Buddhist teacher Tara Brach shared. She tells this story of a woman who describes being with her mother when her mother was in the process of dying. And her mother had drifted in and out of consciousness for several days. And then, right before she died, she opened her eyes and she looked straight at her daughter. And she said, for my whole life, I thought there was something wrong with me. And then she closed her eyes, never to open them again. Can you imagine what the epiphany must have been happening inside of her, that she had this realization of the futility of that thought, that wow, for my whole life I thought there was something wrong with me, but there really wasn't. And there is nothing wrong with you, or me, or anybody. The daughter recounted the story and how it was such a gift to her. And I use it as a gift as well. It's a gift to remind me, of all the moments in our life where we can either turn towards being grateful for what's around us, grateful for others, and grateful for ourselves and all that we have. And that if we don't do that, life's going to keep on going anyway, and our lives will end. And we've really missed such a valuable opportunity to live in this place, this really healing place called gratitude. I'm going to close today with these words from Red Hawk. Red Hawk is a retired clan chief for the American Cherokee Confederacy in Georgia. And he says this. He says, "My grandfather always taught us that life is a banquet, and most fools are starving to death. And it's sad to reach the point of death only to realize that at some point along the way, we forgot to live. So I advise you during this Thanksgiving," he says, this was several years ago. He says, I advise you during this Thanksgiving and this whole month of celebration to adopt some of our philosophy to realize that life is a banquet, and don't starve yourself. There is plenty out there for everyone. Well, thank you, Red Hawk. And thank you all for joining us in this really fun service this week. Thank you to the Braves and all that participated. Please go now in peace and take peace wherever you go.